Good afternoon, everybody, and happy pre-4th of July. I hope that you are having a lovely Tuesday. I know that mine is, it has been a little bit more trying than I would have liked, but here we are. I am glad to be alive and glad to be on the cusp of a day off. Hello, Angel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're going to be chatting a little bit about school choice. So for those of you who have already signed up for the webinar that's going to be happening this Thursday, we're going to be talking about reclaiming your life from Sallie Mae, and that starts with making the right choice on the front end. So this first webinar that's on Thursday is, like I said, it's going to be about making the right choice, about which college you want to attend, and then the second webinar, which is going to be next Thursday, is about paying off your student loans if you already have them. Either way, giving Sallie Mae a slightly smaller piece of yourself. So let's get into today. I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about on Thursday, and the most important thing that goes into not ending up with an outrageous amount of student loan debt is school choice. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I chose my school, and if you saw a video I shared earlier, this may ring a bell. Angel may actually know this as well, because I think we had similar methodologies, maybe not the best, as you'll find out shortly, but this is what happened. So here I am, 17 or 18-year-old Christian, I can't remember exactly, and I don't know where I want to go to school. I know I want to major in finance because I am a true nerd, but a math nerd anyway. But other than that, I really have no idea where I want to go to school. So enter the decision process, right? There's all these websites you can look at, and you know, there's the, I can't even remember the name of all these magazines anymore, it's been so long, but there used to be actual magazines. Kids, if you don't know what a magazine is, go to a grocery store, they still sell them. Just kidding, you guys know what magazines are. Anyway, there's like the College Board magazine. Hey Verna, thanks for joining me today. There's the College Board magazine, and there were a bunch of different other ones, and they rank all the colleges and the schools that are in there and all these other things, and you are kind of use it as today you would use a website. I found a couple of websites that are useful for this, like they allowed you to compare colleges and see who has the best whatever. And so I used that, and I came up with some schools that I liked, and then I started looking around. And eventually it came down to actually visiting the schools, right? So the first place that I visited was actually, I think the first place I went to was actually UT. And that was because my best friend went to school there. I think that's the first place I went. I didn't really want to go to school in a big city. I can't really explain that choice, but I didn't. So the second or third place I went to was Texas A&M, and I fell in love with the campus. It's kind of old and quaint. It looks like what you see in the movies, you know, all that jazz. And if you watch the video that I posted earlier about a young lady named Jessie, her phrase that she used was, I chose LaSalle, which is a college in Pennsylvania, and it's a private school, FYI. I chose LaSalle because I thought this is what college is supposed to look like, right? You think of, if you've ever seen, what's the name of that movie? Any movie, yes, it's absolutely gorgeous. If you've ever been to Prairie View, again, gorgeous campus. I'm trying to think of some other gorgeous campuses that I've actually set foot on. That's the hard part for me personally. I haven't been to a lot of colleges. UT's not ugly, but it's in the middle of a city, so it doesn't have the benefit of like the pastoral, you know, trees and grass all over the place, if that's what you were going for. And that's what myself and Jessie thought looked like school, right? Pretty big brick buildings, and you know, old kind of cobblestone looking sidewalks, which are horrible if you end up on crutches, I can tell you that now, but they look great when you're taking a picture, when you're thinking about, you know, strolling to class and all of that, laying out on the grass and studying. It sounded like a great idea to me. That was honestly one of the biggest factors in me choosing Texas A&M. I loved the campus. I thought it felt great. They did have a great business school, so I did look at what the business school was like. But at the end of the day, that was really all that went into my choice. And here's the truth. That is not the best way to choose a school, okay? The first thing you really need to do is consider your major. All right. So, hey, Latanya, thanks for joining me today. So I did, like I said, a little bit of that, probably not as much as I should have in the whole course of decision making. I don't regret my decision. I met some awesome friends there, like Angel, who's watching, also my fiance, obviously. I've made some great connections and some friends that I've had for years, and I've participated in some awesome stuff. But truth be told, while these people and these particular experiences couldn't be replicated in the exact same fashion at another school, I would have had a different experience, but there's nothing to say it would have been worse, okay? So let's talk a little bit about what needs to go into college decision. So the first thing you need to consider is what you want to major in. Here's why this is important. If you're majoring in something that's a little bit generic, like business, like I did, or like English. Now, I said a little bit generic. We'll discuss the specifics more in the webinar, but a little bit generic, right? So English, business, if you're majoring in math, right? Not like a specific type of math, like, I'm mastering in quantum geometry. I made that up. If it really exists, let me know. Right? So specific, like general math, you're majoring in education, you're majoring in something that's kind of more generic so that you can work on a master's degree. So for instance, like pharmacists, certain pharmacy programs or doctorate programs, you just need a degree in science. You need a degree in math to get into certain engineering, right? So if you're getting a basic degree, you need to figure out if there is actually a school that you need to go to. If you want to be a veterinarian in Texas, if I am not mistaken, the only veterinary school in Texas is at Texas A&M. You will go there if you're going to a school in Texas. Other than that, a lot of the degrees are pretty generic. I know obviously there's a big thing about Ivies, go to Harvard, go to Brown, go to Yale, even in Texas, go to Rice, go to Baylor. And while those are awesome schools, do not get me twisted. Those are some amazing schools. If you're getting a generic degree, you don't necessarily need that to get a particular job. I can't remember the exact statistic, but I want to say more than 50, probably somewhere in the 80 to 90% range of CEOs of major corporations graduated from public universities. Hey Moniqua, thanks for joining me today. Public universities, right? Some of them, sure, went to Yale, Harvard, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, if you have the drive to get things done, if you are a person who is diligent and studies to show themselves approved, if you will, you can get the job done, right? How often do you go into anybody's office if you're meeting with a accountant, if you're meeting with a doctor even, do you say, let me see what school you got your degree from? No. If they are certified to do what they do and you got a good recommendation from someone, because that's how we go to most people, you go, you trust what they say, and you never ask to see the little seal on their diploma, okay? So don't get stuck up or hung up on pedigree is what they call it, to go to some big private school, right? Find the thing you need, and then we're going to keep going down the decision ladder from there. So what is the thing that you need? The thing that you need is going to be obviously, hey Tanya, thanks for joining me today. The thing that you need, like I said, is going to be the major that you want. The next thing you need is you need to be able to afford it. So parents, I need to implore you, do not leave this decision to your 16, 17, and 18-year-olds or younger for some of the kids who are very, very bright. My hat's off to you. I was not that kid. Don't leave this to themselves, okay? Help them with this decision. You know if you can help. If you can't, let them know early, right? Let them know freshman, sophomore year, hey, I can help with books. That's all we're going to be able to pay for. Or, hey, we can help you with the first, semester. That's how much we've got saved. That's what we can contribute. Don't be ashamed of this. There is nothing written in stone that says that you have to help your kids with their education. It is their education. You kept them alive for the first 16, 17, 18 years, or 19, depending on, ages and other things like that. You've done your job. That's all you're required to do by the state of Texas, is to make sure that they get through primary and secondary school. As far as college goes, if you don't have the money for it, do not dip into your 401k for this. I'm going to say this one more time, parents. There is no scholarship for retirement. Do not dip into your 401k to send your kids to school. Capiche? Good. Okay. As long as we're clear. I know a lot of people do that. Don't do that. You can't. That's a separate video. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So, Let them know right up front what the expectation is, but don't let them make this decision on their own. They are still a kid. Would you let your kid make the decision to just go out and lease a $70,000 car? No. You would not, because you're an awesome parent. You don't want them to destroy their lives or run into a pole. You know they can't afford the insurance, so on and so forth, yada and such. Think of school, right? This is a somewhere between 40, and depending on what level of school you're in, a $500,000 decision. Between 40 grand, which is a car, and 500 grand, which is $500,000 or more. Okay? Don't let them make this decision without you. They need your help. They don't know enough to make this decision. In general, there are some teenagers who are super responsible and they still don't know anything. Aunties, uncles, godparents, help these kids with this decision. This is hard. They are making their best guess at what they want to do with the rest of their life. Don't add to it the stress of trying to figure out, oh, how am I going to pay for $40,000 a semester? Like I said about that video earlier, this girl named Jessie, her first semester cost 36 grand, which boggled my mind, okay? I'm not going to lie. That blew my head. 36 grand for her first semester. Based on the numbers that they give, it ends up being a little bit less than that the semesters after, but she spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 to $150,000 on her criminal justice degree. That is a great degree to have. It doesn't have to cost anywhere near that much. Okay, I got a great degree. It cost me more than I'd like. I believe my degree cost me somewhere in the 65 grand range. A lot of that was student loans, which is stories I've told before. We took out about a total of 57. I actually have it written down. Sorry, 53. We took out about a total of 53,000 in student loans for my degree. Yes, it's not fun. But here's the truth. She took out 14 that first semester because she also had scholarships and grants. And that's the next tip, is when you need to count these costs up, okay? And you need to compare not only what the school offers, but what they're asking. I'm going to give you a couple of numbers. Don't blank out on me, okay? Stay with me here. So, in Pennsylvania, since this is where Jessie was located, I decided to go and use her numbers. She went to LaSalle University. The cost per credit hour, which is a number you should become really familiar with as you're searching for schools, is $960 a credit hour at a private university that she went to in Pennsylvania. It's called LaSalle. The tuition at a public four-year school in the same state with a higher rated criminal justice program, I want to throw that in there, called Temple University, is $650 a credit hour. Okay, we got that. So the first one's $960. The second one is basically $660. $300 cheaper. I'm not done. If you wanted to get your associate's degree for the first 2 years and go to a community college, the community college cost per credit hour is $320 total. It is 3 times less than the school she went to. She could have used probably some of those scholarships and grants, not to mention the fact that she was working, and probably gone through at least the first 2 years of school with no debt, had she known to look at how much other places cost. Had she not gotten caught up in how pretty LaSalle was, right? Had she done those things to begin with, she may not have ended up in the situation that she did, which is with $72,000 worth of student loan debt. Honestly, I think she did pretty good based on how much I'm pretty sure that school costs. Like I said, she managed to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $50,000, either out of pocket or with grants and work and scholarships. But at the end of the day, $72,000 in debt it's a lot. And you're just starting out in life, right? How hard is it already? Like, parents, I want you to think about this. If you didn't graduate, right before you got into living your life as a young adult, It's hard enough to get your first job and to get enough money to save a down payment. How much harder is it to do that with a $300, $400, $500, $600 student loan payment? And that's before you've done anything to live. Like, you are limited in job choices. You're limited in moving choices. This is why so many young adults live with their parents, because there's just so much pressure from these payments, which is why we're talking about this, right? So parents, set your expectation early about what you can and cannot help them with. And I'm begging you, don't raise your 401k to send your kids to school. Don't get hung up on the amenities and the atmosphere. I know it's pretty. I know it's fancy. I know it smells good. True story, you can have a great experience at a community college, and you'll have an even better experience when you come out if you don't have this mountain hanging around your neck. Which is tip number 3, start with community college. There's nothing wrong with it. Can tend to be this stigma placed on community college. Community college is a smart choice, especially if your kid doesn't know what they want to do, okay? Do not spend money sending your kid to some private 4-year university, spending 30, 40, 50 grand a year, and they don't even know what they want to do. You're wasting your money. You're throwing good after bad. Send them to community college. Let them learn, figure themselves out, figure out how hard it is to make it in the world, and realize how much money is a little and how much money is a lot, right? Even if you know what you want to do, community college is not a bad idea, especially if there are programs that allow you to take your classes concurrently while you're in high school. I know the Victory program's pretty awesome. One of the girls from my church did that, and so did my best friend's little sister. It's awesome. They both graduated in either 2 or 3 years. I think they both graduated they did their 4 years in high school, which included an associate's degree. And then when they went to college, one of them went to Harvard, and I think the other one went to UNT. They both finished in 2 years, right? So they went to 4-year universities, but they already had 2 years when they showed up. So even if they had to take out loans, they would have to take out loans for half. And I am pretty sure both of them got some sort of scholarships, but I can't vouch for that because I don't remember. It's been too long. I'm getting old. Just kidding. Anyway, the last tip I have for you as far as smart school choice is, and this is just the teaser, of course, the full webinar will be on Thursday at 8 p.m. If you want to sign up, it's DoBetterFinancial/webinar. The 4th tip is choose an in-state tuition, okay? Now let me explain this a little bit. So if you go to any website, if you go to the Texas A&M website, the UT website, you go to Temple, Harvard, USC, whatever, right? Any of these websites, if you are a resident of their state, typically there will be a lower rate of tuition. Now this is the one mistake that I personally didn't make. I did not go to an out-of-state school. You should just do me a favor and look up exactly what the difference is between in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition. Sometimes it's more than double, okay? Double. A lot of times that is their way of encouraging their own students to choose their school. It's not necessarily to discourage other students, but that's how much it would cost. They're just, they're subsidizing students from their state. So I want to encourage you, all things equal, right? If you are a person who is getting a very specific degree to do a very specific thing, and there's nowhere in your state that has that degree, not that campus, not that one special magic professor, none of that, right? If they don't have that degree plan, that's going to be your exception. The only other exception is there are some schools that have a similar in-state trade for surrounding states. So I believe certain schools in Louisiana will allow Texas students to go for in-state tuition. So stuff like that. But what you're going for is in-state tuition. Those differences can be astronomical. I'm going to give you a dramatic example of this. So you may have seen this. I shared this story, and it boggled my mind. There's a man and his wife, but the man is the one with the loans. He went to dental school. Dental school is a grad program. So when he was an undergrad, he had 0 debt. Okay? Keeping up with the math, he had 0 debt in undergrad. He graduated with 0 student loans. So he decided to go to dental school. There was a dental school in the state where he lived. I believe he lived in Nevada. There was a dental school there, but he decided he wanted to go to USC's dental school. It is next door, but They don't offer the program I just described, so he paid out-of-state tuition. That's number one. Number two, he went to a very, very prestigious dental school. USC has the most expensive dental school, and dental school is expensive, period. It has the most expensive dental school in the country. I can't remember exactly how, like, the gap on, and I don't usually read really long articles because, you know, I got a little bit of that millennial time. I can read books, but I struggle with articles. So it was like 8 minutes long. So that lets you know that I was really into this, but that's because this is my subject. Anyway, the difference in USC's dental school and the next dental school was probably somewhere was like $30,000 a year. Like, this is a huge discrepancy. And he chose the most expensive dental school in the country. Fast forward, after 4 years of dental school on student loans, he owed $600,000. I don't know if you heard me. He owed $600,000. Okay? Now, fast forward, I believe 6 more years to right now, he now owes over $1 million in student loans because of his interest rate. And he can't afford to pay. Right? So here's what I'm telling you. Don't get hung up on atmosphere and prestige. They cost too much. Don't get hung up on the magical school on the other side of the state line. It costs too much. Parents, tell your kids the truth. If you can't afford school, tell them early so that they can get their mind right to either go to community college so they can pay for themselves, or so that they can go to community college and save up a whole bunch of money to pay themselves through 4-year school, or so they can start thinking about doing, vocational school, picking up a technical trade, or whatever it is, starting their own business, something, right? Get them ready early so that when they become to junior and senior year, they're not going, oh, you're going to pay for it, right? You're looking at them like, no. They need to know this stuff early so that they can start growing up. Don't underestimate your kids. They understand a lot more than you give them credit for. They're able to learn a lot more than you probably give them credit for quite quickly. Once they understand, sit down with them and figure out what they want to do and where the best place is to do it. Because school choice is the number one thing that will keep Sallie Mae out of your pocket. Choosing the right school with the right cost for your family. If your family can afford to pay for Harvard out of pocket, go. If you got a free ride to Harvard, go. Howard, whoever, right? If they say, hey, we'll pay for you to come up here, please go, right? This is a bonus one. If somebody offers you a lot of free money to go somewhere, and I mean like all the free money, especially if it's out of state, don't be deceived by some of those offer letters. We'll talk about this in the webinar. But if they offer you a lot of free money to go somewhere that doesn't sound fancy or it's in the middle of nowhere, you may need to invest in some really good snacks. Maybe your parents can invest in like a frequent flyer bus pass so you can go home whenever you want. It'll probably be cheaper than anyone who's not giving you money as far as tuition and fees go. So those are my tips for smart school choice. Set the expectation early. Don't get hung up on amenities and atmosphere. Start with community college and choose an in-state school. In most cases, this is possible. If you want to finish up the rest of this webinar, I have some great tips that I'm going to give to the rest of the people who are joining me on Thursday at 8 p.m. You can go to dobetterfinancial.com/webinar so you can find out how to reclaim your life from Sallie Mae. This is a 2-part webinar, so that's the first part. Second part is going to be the next Thursday, and that's going to be about paying off your actual student loans and what your payoff options are. I think the 2 of these together are worth a whole lot more than free, I'll tell you that much. And this is going to be the first time they're being offered, and it's probably the last time they'll be offered for free. So you should get in now. You do not want to miss this opportunity. Again, you're going to go to dobetterfinancial.com/webinar. That's going to sign you up for both of those webinars, which are on this Thursday, July 5th at 8 p.m. and the next Thursday, July 12th at 8 p.m. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July, that you enjoy yourselves, that you try not to drown if it's raining, or that you try not to burn if it's 1,000,000 degrees. And I will catch you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.